Good afternoon, everybody, from the Monday edition of the 2015 Little League World Series here in South Williamsport, Pennsylvania, from the Williamsport Sun-Gazette. I'm Mitch Rupert, standing alongside the one and only Dr. Chris Masse. We're here outside of Volunteer Stadium before the festivities get underway today. First game is at noon over at Lombardy Stadium, a consolation game, I believe, going on here, Chris. But we have a lot of things to talk about that have nothing to do with today, that have nothing to do with Tuesday here at the World Series. Too much happened Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. I didn't sleep last night because the adrenaline was just flowing. Chris, that Pennsylvania-South Carolina game last night was just absolutely unbelievable. And you said it before, you had to type a story, delete it, type it again 3 or 4 times. How awesome was it to watch?
It was great. I think you have at least one of these games every year, one of these wow games, an instant classic. But it was one of the better ones I've seen in 17 years here. When you add the fact that Redland has such a huge crowd here, it was over 32,000 last night, and the South Carolina section did their best to make themselves vocal too. So it was an electric atmosphere to begin with, and then you have the South Carolina with the stunning comeback, and you think they've got it. And then Redland answers in a position they haven't been in all season, where they have to come back and win a close game, and they do it. That was Little League baseball at its best. I think it's going to be the teams the rest of this tournament are going to be hard pressed to beat that one.
The atmosphere was just absolutely electric, and as I said on Twitter after the game, I feel bad for South Carolina because they got to turn around and play today in an elimination game. But the show they put on last night was just absolutely brilliant, and they deserved a standing ovation for it because they never died, they never quit, and it was great. The beauty of baseball, though, is the baseball gods always seem to give a kid or a player a shot at redemption. Jaden Henline got that shot last night, gave up the go-ahead runs in the top of the 6th inning, gets the walk-off hit in the bottom of the 6th inning. We talked yesterday about mental toughness. That's mental toughness.
It is. I mean, you got to put all that behind you and understand that, you know, even though you're down 2 runs and as a pitcher you gave up those runs, you still got a chance, and that's, you know, one of the best things in sports is to have a short memory.
Sure.
And forget about the past, do what you can about the future, and he did. The whole team did. Caden Pfeiffer lit the fuse with the leadoff home run.
By the way, that leg kick, Caden Pfeiffer sports, and that is awesome. That is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think once he hit that, the whole team, they took off from there. No outs were recorded. Henline got that opportunity and made the most of it. It was reminiscent of, I can't remember the kid's first name. It was Dave Ock, I think, from Rhode Island last year.
Oh, sure, yes.
Same situation, giving up the go-ahead runs in the 6th inning against Tennessee. Comes back and gets the walk-off hit. That is mental toughness, especially that's toughness for anybody, let alone a kid that's 12 years old, playing in front of the biggest crowd he's ever played in front of.
The thing that got me about that game is we got to the 2nd inning. Redland was leading South Carolina 6-0. The South Carolina manager starts playing the matchup game, getting his kids 20 pitches and getting them out of there. He all but conceded the game to Pennsylvania, saying, we got to conserve our pitching, knowing we got to come back through the loser's bracket. All of a sudden, they're leading the game in the 6th inning, and it almost worked out to his benefit.
It did, and you know that's what this double elimination tournament does to you. When you fall behind, you know, those are the tough decisions you have to make, whether you should burn somebody trying to get a comeback win. And you know, like you said, it almost works out perfectly. And you know, the good thing for him, because the way he managed it, is that he has almost all of his pitchers, except for Alex Edmondson, who still is under the 85 pitch count rest limit, available for today. So that's big. But I think you're right. He was conceding, but I don't think he was showing that to the kids or anything.
Sure.
I think he still thought they could win the game, but that's what you got to do. You got to make those decisions.
Terrence Gist, for a kid who hit a home run that was 350 some odd feet the other day, comes in throwing off speed stuff and kept South Carolina in the game. That was fun to see, just the dichotomy of the big power versus the off speed stuff. I think up until that point yesterday, the big storyline, Pearland, Texas takes out Bonita, California, which I don't know that anybody saw coming yesterday. I called it on Twitter, Chris, the biggest upset since 2011 when Billings, Montana beat Hagen Danner, California team. If you don't know who Hagen Danner is, Google him. He's one of the top high school pitching prospects in the country right now. They beat that team 1-0 in game nobody saw coming. Am I off base, or was that upset that big yesterday?
I think it was pretty darn big, and contrary to what the guy that on our first take with this, who walked by and said it wasn't an upset, I think it definitely was. I mean, I'm saying on Twitter, I think California's going to win by 5 runs, and it was no disrespect to Texas. They're a great team, but California had just been a wrecking machine this whole summer, destroying teams left and right in one of the most baseball-laden states in the country. They continued it through regionals. They hit 5 home runs in 1 inning against Kentucky. They just had that look of a team that couldn't be stopped. And Ben Gottfried, just came up huge and did what nobody's done all year and stifled them. So I don't think it's a stretch to call it that big of an upset. Unless you're a Pearland, Texas fan and you're from Texas, I think everybody else would tell you they had California winning that game, and it was a big upset.
I don't think anybody thought California was going to cakewalk through this tournament, but I think everybody thought that's the team that you're going to have to beat to win a world championship. The thing that interests me about the Pearland, Texas team is they had Isaac Garcia ready to go. He had only thrown maybe an inning plus in their first game, the win over Oregon, so he was good to go as a starter yesterday. Their manager's like, no, we saved Ben Gottfried for just this situation. And boy, did he come up big. And he opened the door to let Isaac Garcia come in and close the game. That's just a clutch scenario. That's a manager knowing his kids and trusting his kids.
Yeah, and Andrew Solomon said he had been, kind of holding him for that game. And he had said after their first win against Oregon that he's 4 different times since regionals, he's told Ben Gottfried, you're going to start, and then changed his mind. And he was true to his word this time, and Gottfried made the most of it. He said after the game, he said, it's about time that I get the start, and just had him off balance the whole game with the curveball and the off-speed pitches. He was just setting them up well. 7 strikeouts, only 3 hits, no earned runs. I mean, when you consider the opponent, that it was a pretty unbelievable performance.
Here's what I think we learned yesterday about what I think are the top 2 teams in the U.S. bracket in California and Pennsylvania, despite the results yesterday. If you throw 70, 75 miles an hour, they're going to have an opportunity to hit you. It's the off-speed stuff that I think is going to give them a little bit of problem. So it's going to maybe cause managers to rethink how they attack these teams a little bit, I think.
Oh, absolutely, and we saw that last night, starting with Terrence Kiss, throwing the off-speed stuff. Pennsylvania really struggled until the 6th inning, and we already said how Godfrey tied up California. So, and it could be twofold now that PA and California have seen that. They might be more prepared for it. I think from those 2 teams' perspectives too, they both steamrolled so many teams on their way here that what happened yesterday could be a blessing for both. I mean, Pennsylvania still won, but it was great for them to finally be in a dogfight. They hadn't been in a game closer than 7 runs all summer, and now California's been punched in the mouth a little bit. So I think it's going to help both those teams moving forward.
Very interested to see those 2 elimination games in the U.S. field today, just to see how California reacts after getting punched in the mouth, and to see how South Carolina reacts. They had their heart broken last night in the bottom of the 6th. It'll be very interesting.
That's a tough turnaround for them.
Sure.
Because they have the early game at 4 o'clock, so they late night last night, not a lot of time to shake it off. So it will be fun to see how they bounce back.
Last thing we have to talk about here, Doc, is as we start these elimination games, well, they really started on Saturday, but these winners bracket teams come down. We start these elimination games. We're really finding out that these are as much a test of attrition as it is a test of talent. And coaches really have to set up their pitching to give them something late in the week if they want to make that run late in the week. Is it as much about attrition as it is about your talent at this point?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have arms. You've got to have pitching depth at this point. And it's all hands on deck at this point. Andrew Solomon said he called it the matrix that he had all set up going into the tournament about how things would work, and that's kind of what you have to have. I mean, you run into situations like Kevin Tumlin did last night where you have to make those tough decisions. When do I pull this guy? How long do I keep him in? So it's going to be tough. We saw it in 2010 with the Hawaii team that had to play, I think, 5 games in 5 days. And they probably used about 8-9 pitchers, and it kept finding guys that would come through. That's what you need. You're going to have to need half of your team probably at least to come up big at some point to get you to at least Thursday's game, and have a chance to get to the U.S. final.
It's only Monday. We have so many storylines here that the Little League World Series, and even more importantly, so many more to come. So please keep watching, keep reading Chris's stuff at www.Sun-Gazette.com. We have this whole tournament covered from the U.S. side to the international side with great content for you there on the website. Follow us on Twitter. We have even more insight on there that you don't have to pay for, but is worth the price of what you're paying for it. Absolutely, it's pretty good. So from the Monday edition of the 2015 Little League World Series here in South Williamsport, I'm Mitch Rupert. He's Chris Massey from the Williamsport Sun-Gazette. We'll talk to you later.